So we're live with the here. I don't know if it's gonna work or not. I'm thinking I can't put 5 inch props on here. I can't put 4 inch props on here, but I can definitely put 3 inch props on here. Even though these are 2200 something motors, I guess it'll be 2205. So yeah, that's what they are. Everything is already hooked up, um, and the motors are a little weird. Like these spin pretty freely, but you see this one's not. This one's not. Really. This one is. So you gotta wonder how much mileage I'm gonna get out of this. But I mean, as stupid an idea as it is, it's pretty. It's pretty neat. I mean, I think it is, anyways. So that's why I did it. And um, now I just gotta make sure the camera works. I mean, I'll probably line of sight test it first. Um, but I still have to put a receiver in it. I was trying to not use a brand new receiver on such a thing here because our budget is tight this month, and I only have 2 receivers, and I tend to go through receivers faster than anything else. As far as this is what's broken, and if I want to fly again, I need to replace this. So I'm reluctant to put a brand new receiver on this, knowing that something could go wrong. It could catch on fire. Most likely, it'll fall from great height, if it even gets to great height. So a new receiver is the last thing I'm trying to do. And I'm looking over here. What could I pilfer? And the obvious choice would have been this one, but I cut off the little plug that was on there. This is what came with the DarkMax 220. This shitty little receiver. And I've taken the plug off because this one was not plug and play. It was kind of solder and play. And I just soldered it directly on this Gep RC Sparrow. So those antennas are two fakes, or whatever. The real antenna is that tiny little one right there. That's the real receiver antenna. Um, and luckily it works for crashes. And I mean, it works fine to have it like that. But yeah, you see the receiver. It's not an XM Plus. I think it's an R9 or a FR Sky Pro. I think that's what's written on the other side. It's whatever came with the Dark Max Bind and Fly originally. Um, and here's what's left of my Dark Max. The motors are getting ready to be put into another build with a. I've pretty much given up on the ESCs that came with this, and I've pretty much given up on the flight controller that came with this. I've got the motors and the frame, and I've got a new board and a new ESC, a 4-in-1 coming for it. Or I might put it in this frame. I had I blew up a ESC. This the ESC from this one trying to build this because I had to extend the motor wires, and I didn't put heat shrink on there, and the motor wires touched the metal standoffs. My fault all the way. But so the only other option that I really would think I might want to do would be to pull this one because I'm only getting like 60 or 70 RSSI. I think I've destroyed the antenna in there it's been on there for the longest time. It was the greatest antenna for the longest time. It's a really long piece of wire. The exposed part, I think maybe was up here. I think it's been destroyed because there was more heat shrink on it. I mean, this was one massive crash-proof antenna I had, and I got hella range from it at first, and now it's saying RSSI max is like 70%. So something's wrong with it. So maybe I'll take this antenna down, uninstall it from this one, and put it on that guy, and put an XM Plus on this this bird instead. Um, so that's my only thought right now, unless I come into some money, which actually I do have enough money to buy another receiver right now, so maybe I'll just do that instead of, you know, fretting, I guess. Maybe I'll just go ahead and get another receiver, purpose built for this guy. Um, I won't feel so bad. I mean, I'm gonna feel bad either way because I go through so many receivers. I don't want to waste one on this. So I'm gonna try to get this XM working. I know I've already tried to get these two working. I'm pretty sure they're broken somehow. They never they never light up or anything. I don't see any burns on them though. But yeah, I've tried these on multiple quads and had no luck. Um, and I don't know. Oh shit, maybe I could use this. This is the. This came off of a DYSL, but it binds to FreeSky in D8 mode. So that's an option. Pinout is right. I had enough trouble with that shit yesterday. Whew. The uninvert or invert, I don't know, man. The wires were inverted to what I was used to, so it took me a while to figure that out. That looks kind of cool. And meanwhile, I was trying everything under the sun to get it to work. So let's see. This one is shit. I don't remember. Let me look it up in my trusty encyclopedia of quad. So the XM Plus is, when you're looking at the antenna side, it is signal, hot, ground. When you look at the other side, it's ground, hot, signal. Um, so we're looking at this, and we have signal, ground, hot. So this is not the right order. I don't. This is definitely not the right order. Signal, ground, hot is what we got here. We'll plug in signal, ground, hot, left to right. Uh, this would plug in the opposite. Ground, hot, signal. That's not gonna work. I can tell that this would go in. Where is it? Ground, hot, signal, left to right. If I plug it in there, and this would go in signal, hot, ground. It seems like when it's not inverted, the wire is yellow, and when it is inverted, the wire is white. And now I got another one that looks like it's inverted. Both of my 6S quads over there had the white wire, and they're inverted relative to the other ones. So whenever I tried to plug in or solder on a receiver, it didn't work. See, there's the white one. And on this one, you got the same thing, but I managed to get around that by doing something. I don't remember exactly what I did now, unfortunately. But I think it was that I took and I desoldered the wires off of the plug that works and put it onto the other one. It's just that simple. Um, so for this one, it's going to be simpler because there's nothing. You just put these to the receiver. So just put signal, ground, and hot where they belong. So this one's not a problem, but this one was a bit of a problem because it's a plug and play thing. So you got to use a wire harness that has the wires in the right order, or you got to take your micro tool and open up that uh, wire harness, which to me I've never had much luck doing that without destroying anything. You got big hands and stubbly fingers. It's kind of hard to do shit like that, you know. It's like your own fingers get in the way and fuck you up. So, I do have like just enough money to get a receiver if I really, really want to. So yeah, this plug is backwards. In order to fix it, I would have to pull these wires out and rearrange them. And there's a little piece on the end, and I don't understand how it got like that. Is that like through the process of like they stuck the wires in here and poured some solder in there and it got hardened into that shape, or is it something else that made this happen? I'm thinking it's probably something else. It would be very nice to be able to use that receiver. Um, Damn. So, and you know, this one has the plug, so it's more difficult to do it. But I guess I could. I can't desolder this because this is soldered and hot glued to death. So I'm gonna leave this one alone. Um, Could run an extra set of LEDs. Let's see. We already got the Hell's Gate buzzer on here. These are the beepers that I bought, and I thought they were pretty big, but this buzzer beeper is bigger and louder. I mean, it's the loudest one I've got on any of my quads, and it's a shame because it's only a 3-inch, and I have 5-inch quads with a buzzer that's much quieter and smaller. So I put this together upside down, and by upside down, oh shit, man, I am a true fucking klutz, yo. I have problems with like this all the time, breaking stuff because I drop it, or make some stupid move at the last minute right before I'm about to fly the thing. Looks like I might have to resolder this, which I really don't care. Soldering is no longer it's a challenge. It can be, but usually it's not anymore. So by upside down, I mean I put the sandwich plates in the wrong place. This sandwich plate is supposed to be right up under the stack, and the sandwich plate that's under the stack is supposed to be down here. Or it's upside down. You know, the motor should be on this side. Everything should be on this side. But it's on this side. So it would be pretty easy because it's hard to get that sandwich layer and the arms and everything in there. It's hard to do that. I make a little jig out of tape usually, or hands, or helping hands, or if I have somebody else to hold it. Say, come here, hold this for a second. But yeah. So trying to decide what I want to do with this, and this is just a side project, obsession. You know, this is mainly because I fried the other ESC. That's why I'm here doing this now. Because the other build, which was going to be the Noob Copter 2, Noob Copter 1 is this guy right here. Hope I don't drop the damn thing. But this is Noob Copter 1. It's got the famous $3 motors in there, made famous by don't think I would have ever discovered that these exist had that guy not written up the fact that they exist. There's there's no way I would have paid attention to just some random generic motors on the website there. So I put these motors in here, and it's like I need to calibrate the accelerometer or something. In stabilized mode, it's really bad, and I might need to calibrate my sticks. This one has a FlySky FSIA6 in it, and it's PPM, believe it or not. So it's not S bus, but it's like what, 3 wires. No, this has 8 wires. So that was my first race quad. I don't even want to learn that legacy stuff right now. To be perfectly honest, it's got no place in the future. I don't think PPM, and uh, really, I feel like I have so much other stuff that's more pressing to learn. So I'm probably going to do my best with that, but I did make that one for a friend of mine, and he's pretty smart, so I could probably just say, look, dude, take your time, try to learn as best you can. Here you go. But I'd also rather hand it over after it's tuned and flying perfectly. Because he ain't never flown shit before. To give him a little bit of chance of survival with the thing, because it's hard. I mean, that very race quad right there was my first race quad, and I've crashed it so many times, and I've replaced the arms so many times, and replaced the motor so many times. The only thing that I haven't replaced is the board and the ESCs, because the way they built this thing, it was perfect for noobs. It was the perfect learning platform. Uh, for me. I mean, I still don't know of any quads that would do better at that. But now I'm learned up now, so it's kind of hard to judge that kind of thing. But yeah, it's pretty. It's got these super bright LEDs that are more intense than any LEDs you'll see on any other quadcopter. And it's unique. It's got that rear LED. It's got the two front-facing headlights, and then the rear LED that looks kind of like the Millennium Falcon's motor exhaust or whatever the back part is. It totally reminds you of that. I mean, of lightsabers and Star Wars and shit. So it's pretty cool for a noob. Um, and for as far as flying it's a legit race quad. I mean, if it was tuned, and it's got a Naze 32 on it, so it's kind of at a disadvantage when it comes to processing power. Where did I put my herb? I'll be back. It's kind of at a disadvantage when it comes to processing power because that Naze doesn't have an ARM 32 CPU. It's got some other older CPU that doesn't have as many cycles available to it. So I've had it get stuck on 100, and you definitely don't want that to happen. I mean, when it's run out of cycles, it literally is stuck and it can't do anything else, or it might freeze. Just these are things you don't want to think about with your flying computer. So it's got the Naze 32 in there. I need to update the firmware on it, but I really want to do this before I hand it over to my friend because I'm really trying to get him. This won't be his first drone. I've already sold him another drone before this, and he didn't have a good experience with that one. So, and he's ready to give it up and not do it anymore. So I'm kind of like, well, I got to make sure he has a good experience this time. So I've narrowed it down to the Aosenma CG35, which was the one I got before I got my first race quad. And I still have these. These are the first ones I've ever owned, and I still have those from a year ago. And the Senma is a perfect learning tool too. I built that one from scratch too, just like the Florian 250 racer. And it's amazing what I had to learn in order to keep that thing till today and keep them in running condition till today. Um, it really is amazing what I had to learn and the type of changes I had to have as a person. And so, if you're down with that and you're ready to get on with that and realize there's gonna be a lot of growth and there's also gonna be some frustration and tears too. Um, when I crashed the thing at first, the AO Cinema, the first time I crashed it and just obliterated it, I didn't think I would ever see it fly again because I thought it was in much worse shape than it is. Um, Now, I'm not sure it could survive that again, but it probably would because I've crashed it again and had to rebuild it again and crashed it again after that several more times. And the last time I flew it, I crashed it into my car at full speed, right into the door. And that's not the first quad to crash into my car at full speed, sadly enough. But it didn't hurt the car too bad, just the paint. And it destroyed some props and things like that. But the thing is tough. You know, for a flying vehicle, you wouldn't. Just like airplanes, when you crash, everybody dies. It's not a survivable thing. But the way the Semi is built, the plastic frame protects the ESCs and the flight controller, and even the motor wires and the solder points in it. It protects literally everything. So when I went to rebuild it the first time, I did not have to pull out the solder gun. I don't even know if I had a solder gun when I started rebuilding that thing. But I had to be careful with everything. I had to become familiar with every part. And at the end of the day, I had to take it out of the body and hold the flight controller in my hands with the attached ESCs and motor wires and everything without fucking it up. So it lets you realize exactly what is at the heart, the beating heart of your drone, quadcopter. That's it. That is it. The rest is exoskeleton or frame or however you want to look at it. The AO Senma, I'd say that's an exoskeleton because obviously um, it's built like an insect, sort of, where the outside shell, the white part, is there, and it just protects all of the inside parts. Um, and it's there to deform and break up just like a skeleton on the inside. But in some ways, it's more effective. Now, you might have to replace that entire exoskeleton, and that's why I have this right here. Because I don't want to have to wait. This time I bought it in advance. I've already got the replacement body for the thing, or exoskeleton. Because I don't want to have to wait. I waited months, like 3, 4, 5 months, while this AOSMI was crashed and sitting on my shelf, right? Until I got the parts and the courage up to do it. You know, the parts came and I had excuse after excuse why I didn't want to do it. But eventually I got tired of that and I got down to business. Um, and this thing has GPS too, so I kind of have grown disillusioned with the DJI and the photography drones. You know, I look at it like this: if somebody wants to pay me to use those to take pictures, I'm ready day one to do that. Um, but there's no need to have them in inventory. The having them is not going to get you the gigs. And I feel like unless you have gigs, they're too expensive to own. Maybe a used Mavic Pro I could justify, maybe, but that's $1,000. You know what I mean? The drones I have cost like $100 to make, $200, $300, $400 max. You know what I'm saying? And now, sure, I could go and try to buy a bind and fly off of Catalyst Machine Works and pay $600 for one. But I'm just saying, in my opinion, the real value to an end user consumer type person is between $100 and $300. Not four, not five, not six. Not for a racing drone. There's just not enough there, and there's not enough R&D. Same reason I don't have Fat Sharks. And to see that there's some crowdsourced it just makes me sick. I'm sure Ralph Nader is laughing his ass off at us. Like, we're just beyond pathetic when it comes to shopping and keeping our best interests, even in our own mind. We just throw all that out the window and bend over, basically. And, you know, I don't do that. So uh, I look for reasonable deals, and I look at the prices of the parts, and I see, like, what are they? They're not prioritizing. It's all just an orgy of greed. It's all just a get rich soon or soon as possible type thing. There's not really an overarching strategy. Um, Everybody's doing their own thing. So for me, I just look at, what do I want to do? Well, I love FPV. I love wearing the goggles and being able to pretend like I'm flying, essentially. That's what it boils down to. That's what I enjoy as much as weed or anything else that's like a pleasurable thing. Uh, you know, FPV experience. That's pretty much it. So I don't require a brand or standard or anything, because this is obsolete technology. There's no R&D going on. That's why when I see people crowdfunding, it just makes me sick. It's like there's no expenses. You're just lining their pockets. There's no R&D going on. They might have to test stuff, but that's different. That's not R&D. That's just testing. That's the end stage that every product should have to go through. Uh, you don't R&D a technology that is so well understood as this type of RF we use here. That's not what's going on. That's not what the expense is. The marketing budget, manufacturing and stuff like that is what matters. I don't feel like all the companies are being honest. I don't feel like we're putting their feet to the fire to make them feel like they need to be honest, or we even give a shit. So I'm not blaming anybody, just saying I'm not going to participate if I can help it. Um, when I can find the parts cheaper, already made, and they're bold about it on Banggood. The Darkmax 220, it was $110 the other day, and you can get all kinds of discounts. So it's probably right around $100. Your average person could get it for. Well, they're still selling the frame for $50. They're selling the motors for $60, $75 separately, and the stack for $100 goddamn dollars. You know what I'm saying? You just have to think. You have to look out for yourself, because nobody else is going to do it. Ralph Nader is no longer in the building. Uh, so let's add that up. $50 for the Dark Max frame, or it's actually $56.99, I think, or $57.99. So let's just call it $50, just because we don't have to exaggerate. Then the motors are $15.99 a piece. So let's just call that 15 by 4 and call it $60. We're already just at the price of the frame and the motors. We're already over the price of the fucking bind and fly, which is $110. So what the fuck gives? Well, buyer beware. You gotta shop. You gotta do your due diligence. Um, but just think about what you'd add on to that afterwards. You're already paying $100 between the frame and the motors. More, but we'll just discount that for you. And you won't get a discount because they don't discount parts like they do bind and flies. They don't need to. So we're at $100 for the frame and the motors. Then we got to spend another $100 for the stack. Hopefully that's not just part of the stack. That's the ESCs and the all-in-one flight controller and VTX. But either way, that's still $200 you're spending, and that's conservative. I'm knocking off like $50 just because. You don't have to exaggerate. You can soft sell it and it's still twice as much to buy the parts. And then you've got the quality issue. How many of those parts are going to be duds? I've got a build coming up. I bought 5 motors instead of 4 because these are the whatever, those $10 motors, $9.99, the Wushu or whatever. And I just want to have 5 in case I screw up once. And there's so many ways to get taken, you know. And you buy these parts and say you spend $300 for a Dark Max, and then you've got an issue with the gyro or one of the other parts, or you make a mistake and bridge a solder point and fry the whole board. I mean, it just puts building in a category where you really have to be careful. Me personally, I'm only building now after I've got a stable fleet of quads that I know how to build and rebuild from scratch to keep me in the air so I won't lose interest or get rusty. I've already got my choice of what I want to fly ready at all times. And if I crash it, I've got most of the parts to put it right back in the air, and I certainly know how to do it. I'm familiar with all the quads. Um, so now I can start doing silly shit like this. Now that my flying life doesn't depend on it, and I've been doing this all day, every day since on the one hand, I finally learned how to fly. Before it was I flew in stabilized mode. When I first got my first race drone, I flew in stabilized mode all the time. And when I flipped into acro mode, it was just a temporary thing, just to test it out and learn. Now, it's like the only reason I put stabilized mode on there is because I don't know how to I don't know how to sensibly lay out my mixer on the Tyrannus. Okay, well, if I don't have Horizon and the other mode, so anywhere I put the switch, it's going to be acro mode. I could live with that. So maybe from now on, I hadn't really given it much thought, but maybe from now on, I won't put stab mode because I never use it. It's just in the way. There's no situation I can think of where stab mode is going to give me any benefits over acro mode. And it's just so much fun to be at this point as a pilot. And I got so much more to learn and grow, but I already can have so much fun with it, being so much more free to do whatever I feel like, whatever comes to mind. And even if I crash, I can fix it. And now I'm getting to the point where I've got enough quads. I'm not anxious about anything at all, and I can build weird shit like this. Unfortunately, I built it upside down, but like I said, I think I'm not going to change it. I think I'm going to leave it upside down. It's not going to affect anything. So my only issue is sourcing a receiver, and I guess right now I'm not willing to fork out for a brand new one for this. So I'm kind of in the same position I was. And sadly, all the stuff I have learned, I haven't learned how to make these things come apart reliably and put them back together in a different order. So all I've been doing is soldering these wire harnesses to the board. Like, yeah, I could solder one here if I had one that would fit in here. So it's making me appreciate just soldering shit, It's more headache in some ways, but it's less headache in other ways. So if I had a board that had a plug on it, I could use this. But the plugs are all different, so you really need to learn. I really need to learn how to make these plugs myself by hand. So that's pretty much all I had to say this morning. watching, and I'll see you in a little while.